Hello everyone and welcome to my session on how to deploy AKS in Azure Stack HCI cluster. You will learn how to do this in WSLab, but you can do the same in the real environment. And also you will learn that you can also do the same in WSLab inside Azure if you don't have the machine for this, because this scenario requires at least 40 gigabytes of the memory, as you can see on the left where the machines are deployed. You will deploy domain controller, then two Azure Stack HCI nodes, 16 gigabyte each, and then Win10 machine, which is optional, where you can run Windows Admin Center. On the right, you are able to see that there is failover cluster manager, where you are running Azure Stack HCI cluster, and inside the Azure Stack HCI cluster, you have AKS cluster, including the Mariner virtual machine. So in this session, you will learn how to deploy all of this. This will be the result. So let me briefly talk about scenarios. Scenarios are part of the WSLab. So WSLab is not only about the scripts that will deploy you some virtual machines, but there are also, let's say, guides. But all the guides are written in purely PowerShell, where you deploy everything like one PowerShell script that you can paste region by region or line by line, and this way you can effectively learn very well. We talked about this with Dave in previous session, so if you did not see it, please take a look. There will be a recording available on the YouTube, so please take a look on this. Today we will talk about, or now we will talk about Azure Stack HCI and Kubernetes. In the previous session, we were talking about Azure Stack HCI and MVPDays. But there are many more scenarios. There are around 50. I actually stopped counting, but there is a lot of knowledge, So let's talk about this one, this Azure Stack HCI and Kubernetes scenario. Each scenario it has a scenario.ps1 script. We'll walk through the script and what is actually happening inside. And then we will go into the lab and I will show you how to run it first. And then I will show you what actually the script does. So in high level, you will first deploy domain controller and then two nodes with operating system, Azure Stack HCI OS. And at the first things first, you need to expand the C drive from 60 gigabytes to 120 gigabytes. The 60 gigabytes is not enough because if you will apply updates, there will be less than 50 gigabytes free space. And this is checked in the Azure Stack HCI deployment script. Azure Stack HCI, AKS HCI deployment script. Which is, I think, a bug because it's supposed to check this free space on the cluster shared volume, not on the C drive. Anyway, then we will create two node Azure Stack HCI cluster. We will then download Azure Kubernetes Service HCI module, and we will set up AKS, all with the PowerShell, right? It will set up load balancer, control plane, and some cluster resources. Then we will create AKS HCI cluster. So this is cluster where you can deploy your applications. And then we will link the cluster, Azure Stack HCI cluster, and this demo cluster we deployed into the Azure. And also we will apply a configuration. So now we will take a look on how to deploy this lab environment into your machine or virtual machine in Azure. So let's first thing first, we will navigate to WSLab GitHub project. We will go to scenarios and Azure Stack HCI and Kubernetes. We will first need labconfig.ps1, where we will just copy virtual machines configuration. You can copy entire lab config, but in my case, I will keep my settings, my customizations, where in my case, I commented out the prefix. And so now it will use the folder name. And I also have my telemetry level full, so I will not be asked for the telemetry, and I will also provide my telemetry nickname. So I will see my own statistics in the telemetry. You can notice here that the parent VHD for Azure Stack HCI cluster is Azure Stack HCI 20H2 G2.vhdx, and also that there is Windows 10 20H1 G2 vhdx. And now we will take a look how to add these vhdx into the parent disks. I already have it here, but the way I made it to appear here is that I used create parent disk. You can just simply right-click on it, run with PowerShell, and it will ask you for the ISO file. You will provide the ISO file, and the result will be Azure Stack HCI 20H2 G2 vhdx. Okay, so let's do a deploy now. Let's run deploy. It will take around 4 minutes. So what I will do now, I will pause the recording, and then I will resume after the virtual machines will be created. So script almost finished. The last step that what will be done is to ask you if you want to start all the virtual machines or only the deployed ones, or if you don't want to. I want to start all the machines. So I can now go into the Hyper-V manager, and you can see my machines are running. You can also notice that these machines have 16 GB RAM each. And if you don't have enough RAM, what you can do, you can use Azure, and it's pretty simple. You can go to running WSLab in Azure scenario. And yeah, it's here, running WSLab in Azure, and simply click on deploy to Azure button, and this will deploy you a machine, either Windows Server 2019 or Windows 10 with Hyper-V installed, and also WSLab scripts copied into the temp drive. So you can set up the WSLab and then play with the scenarios. You can specify different virtual machine sizes. These machines support nested virtualization, so you can have your Hyper-V here. Okay, let's continue with the scenario now. We navigate again to WSLab, and now we will go into domain controller, login, user WSLab credentials, lab admin, ls1 setup exclamation mark. You can find these in the labconfig.ps1. And then let's open a PowerShell. Okay, it'll take a little bit of time. And also what we will open is PowerShell ISE as administrator. I like it this way, so I place PowerShell on the left and PowerShell ISE on the right. And I will paste here scenario.ps1. To have the plain text, I click on the raw, select everything, and copy with clip to the clipboard. I will paste it into the PowerShell ISE and hit Ctrl+M to collapse all regions. And now you can see exactly the same as what we saw in the PowerPoint. First part, we will need to run from the Hyper-V host, so it's pretty simple. We'll just copy it and run it in the Hyper-V host. But first, I want to show you what we will be actually doing. We need to expand the drives, so we will take a look how big C drives we have. So let's add these to Azure Stack HCI node into the server manager. And let's go into the file and storage services into the disks. We'll be able to see that disks in Azure Stack HCI nodes are 60 gigabytes. Let's double check. So yeah, these machines are online and disks are 60 gigabytes. When I created my Azure Stack HCI VHD, I provided 60 gigabytes as a size, so I need to now expand the volume to 120. So let me just copy the first few lines and paste it into the PowerShell. So what it will do now, it will expand this disk from 60 gigabytes to 120. It will just expand the VHD. However, now there is 60 gigabytes unallocated, so what we need to do is to expand the partition. So we will do this using PowerShell Direct. So we will directly connect into each VM. The VMs are the VMs that are beginning with or starting with WSLab and contains Azure Stack HCI. So let's just simply paste this. We'll create a password and then connect to the machines. It will grab the partition with the drive letter C. It will grab what is the maximum supported size, and it will then resize the partition to the maximum size. So let's refresh. See that our partition, the partition is now 120 gigabytes. It was simple, right? Okay. So the next step is to create a two-node cluster. I'll simply copy this region and simply paste it by right-click. I will now pause the recording because this will take around, I don't know, 10 minutes, I would say, because it will create a cluster, install all the roles, it will reboot the machines because it will first install updates to these machines, install roles, and then set up the cluster and enable storage spaces direct. So I will just pause the recording and come back when this is finished. So cluster is now created. So let's take a look what actually happened. Let's navigate to failover cluster manager. Let's connect to the cluster. And now we will be able to see that the cluster is created. File share witness is configured. If we go to the nodes, you can see that there are two nodes with Azure Stack HCI operating system. We'll be able to see that there is, oh, not yet, there will be performance disk created soon. And there's only one network. There is switch embedded switch. These two network adapters that simulates to real network adapters are teamed using the switch embedded teaming and connected to the virtual switch. So we can create virtual machines that are connected to the external network. Okay, now the cluster performance history is here. Okay, let's continue. We will download AKS HCI module. This will be fast. We will download this into the downloads folder, and also we will extract it so you can see what's here. There is the PowerShell modules, and here is also the Windows Admin Center extension. This log is also fine because it can provide you some logs, but this is for the Windows Admin Center. Let's now set up AKS. I will just copy this script and paste it, and I will again pause the recording, and after that I will show you the result. So I just unpaused the recording because this is something I wanted to show you. This script, the first iteration will hang on this waiting for cloud nodes to be active. This is unfortunately a known bug. So I will now show you how to proceed. So the first thing, you need to cancel this. And because I was running entire region, it also run the disabling CRUD SSP. So why we are even enabling and then disabling CRUD SSP? Because the script that we are running here is, in our case, let me just show you where it is. This enable command here is initialize AKS HCI node. This is why we copied the AKS PowerShell module to the node, so we can run it remotely. However, when you run it, then it also do the action against other nodes. So there's a double hop issue. So basically, you are using your credentials and then trying to reuse it for other server, but the other server doesn't understand. And to understand, we are enabling CRUD SSP. So what I will do now, I will again enable CRUD SSP because we just disabled it. Let's enable it again. And there is a note that this step might need to run twice. However, I need to first uninstall AKS HCI, and I also need to again set the configuration and then again install the AKS HCI. So I will just copy this and paste it again. So what you will notice, it will unfortunately clean the old configuration. It will also delete the files that were downloaded from internet, and then it will download it again and then set up everything. What I will do now is again pause the recording, and I will after that show you what happened when this will be installed again. Okay, so AKS HCI just finished. For install AKS HCI just finished, we can now disable it greater than SP because it's no longer needed. Let's take a look what actually happened. So this script downloaded images into the AKS disk that was created. So let's navigate to Azure Stack HCI cluster. So there is our AKS virtual disk that was created. We had to create it before we ran install AKS HCI. And here are some images. And here is Linux Kubernetes image. Let me also scroll up to just show you what's in the script here. There was one thing that we can see what configuration we have. This is the configuration we had to modify. You can see that there is a cloud config location. So it's on our AKS disk. There are also images. And here you go with size of the machines that were deployed. So we can check it here. You can see that there are 2 machines now, control plane and load balancer. And you can see that the control plane has assigned memory 6 GB, while load balancer has assigned memory, let's see, 2 GB. Okay. What's here also is that we have here VNet name, which is vSwitch, and that's it. Okay, so we have virtual machines here. If you will try to connect to the machine, you will see that there is some Linux, in this case Mariner. And the same for the control plane. Okay, awesome. So let's continue. The next region that will create AKS HCI cluster. What I will do here is to run new AKS HCI cluster, in this case named demo, with Linux node count 1, with Linux node VM size standard 82. You can see here in the VM sizes that we specified, or I extracted here from the script the sizes you can use. So in case you have more memory in your virtual machines, you can adjust it. So let me just simply copy this region like this and simply paste it. I will again pause the recording, and I will resume after this cluster will be created. This part just finished, so AKS HCI cluster is now created. So let's take a look in the field of the cluster manager. So our Azure Stack HCI cluster is now running multiple virtual machines. So we have our control plane and load balancer for the cluster group management. And then we have our AKS cluster, which is called demo, and it consists of control plane, load balancer, and this worker node. This is our Linux machine that we specified. You can see it has 4 GB, as well the load balancer and the control plane, also 4 GB of memory. The demand is even smaller. That's because this is for your application. Okay, so the last step, or One of the last steps will be to onboard the clusters into the Azure Arc. This will be a little bit more complex, so I will be running this script piece by piece just to explain what is happening. So first thing first, we will need to download Azure module for Azure Stack HCI. So first we will register Azure Stack HCI to the Azure, right? So not the Kubernetes cluster, but the Azure Stack HCI operating system. So we'll download Azure module and then log into Azure. We will use device authentication. So I will navigate to this page and provide a code to authenticate. This is because of I want to use my modern browser on my desktop, because here in the Windows server I have just Internet Explorer. Now I'm authenticated. That's cool. So you can see I'm logged in into the Azure. I'll select context if more are available. There's only one, and also only one subscription, so I'll use this one. I will get this subscription ID into the variable. And now what I will do is, because you will register Azure Stack HCI using register Azure Stack HCI command, but I have an Internet Explorer, and it would bother me with a question: do you want to allow the scripts running on this page, and so on? So I will just add a few registers, and now I will register the HCI cluster. It will take a few minutes. Oh, not me, few minutes, but let's say 1 minute. So let me go first to portal. And we will see when our Azure Stack HCI will be registered. So it should be in here in Azure Arc, and we should be able to see it under Azure Stack HCI. In here I have also another example. It can grab the location. So let me just show you this piece of script. This is where these locations are available. Oh, I didn't log in. Oh, I would have to log in, it's true. Anyway, so this will grab the AZ location where provider contains Azure Stack HCI. So it will give you only two options. One will be in US and one in Europe. I think West Europe and West US. Oh, now we are signing in here. So register Azure Stack HCI is using this form, and it's actually using Internet Explorer settings. So that's why I was enabling these registries. So let me log in. I'll send myself a notification to my mobile phone, and I will confirm it. Okay, so it's almost finished. Let's see if something is happening here. Not yet. So let me just briefly pause the recording. Okay, so now the cluster is registered. I can show you this location prompt. Oh, I need to connect again. So let me just skip this step, because I run register Azure Stack HCI, it actually logged me out of the Azure. So I would have to log in again. So I'll skip this. Or what I can do is I can log in AZ account again, show you this part. So I'll again navigate to device login. And again, provide the code just to simply authenticate. Now I'm here registered, and I can again on this location prompt, it will give me, it will show you now that you are able to register your Azure Stack HCI resource only to the East US or West Europe. So let's hit cancel. Don't need it anymore. Let's refresh here, and now I can see here my Azure Stack HCI cluster. You can see it's registered, and there's just one server. We'll probably pop the other node a little bit later. Okay. So let's install Azure Stack HCI RSAP tools to the nodes. So we are able to then validate the registration. So we'll query just one node. If the node is registered, and then the next step will be, okay, let's copy this, paste it. So as you can see, it's connected. So our Azure Stack HCI cluster is registered. Let's do register AKS now. So let's see how this will go. Copy and paste. So we are now testing if the module resources is present. If not, we will install it. If we are not able to get AZ context, we will log into the Azure again. But I already logged my account in because I wanted to show you the location. Now just make sure that the location is the same. Our Azure Stack HCI cluster is located in the East US, so also AKS, I will use the location East US, and the AKS cluster name will be demo. Good. So I will now create service principal. Copy. I will assign it contributor over the scope of this subscription and this resource group. And I will grab a secret. And then I will provide this secret when I will be onboarding the cluster. Okay. So I will now register these two providers. Okay. And I will onboard the cluster. Great. Looks like it's now being onboarded. So what I will do, I will check the onboarding. So first we will generate a kubeconfig. This is already done, but if you need to generate a kubeconfig again, you can just run this command, but we already have it. So we will just copy locally to this machine, so we can then run kubectl and then check the onboarding job from this machine. So I don't have to invoke it remotely to another machine. So I'll just copy the kubeconfig and run kubectl. Okay. It's now copying the files from the cluster, and I will copy it to my program files locally. So I'm copying from the session, and in this case, session is the cluster name. So I'm copying it from one of the cluster nodes to my local program files. Let me just show you where it is. See program files. Is it forget the path? AKS HCI kubectl. So here we go, kubectl. And as you can see, it's still running. So I'll just briefly pause the script. Notice the time. It's slightly after midnight. Oh, it's already Saturday. Okay, let me just pause this. I just resumed recording. It took around 1 minute. You can see that provisioning state succeeded, so we should be able to see our Kubernetes cluster inside Azure Arc. As you can see it's here. If we'll go back here, you can see that the Kubernetes version is 118.8 and location is east to west. That's awesome. And now what we can do is to deploy sample configuration. It's from this docs. It's inspired by this docs page. So let's do it. You can see that we will install Helm using Chocolate, and then we will install AZCLI. And in one part we will exit the PowerShell because we need to restart it. So don't be scared. I'll just paste the entire region, and in one part it will just simply exit, and this PowerShell will disappear. So let me just paste it. So as you can see, it's installing the Helm using Chocolate. Now the Helm is being installed. Okay, now we will install AZCLI. We'll download it again to the downloads. So let's check our downloads. It will soon pop up here. Meanwhile, I will show you this. You can enable GitHub integration and then even configure Azure policy. This is something I'll still need to do. I still need to find some time to expand this scenario and some motivation. So please let me know if you want to see this. I would like to hear your feedback. Please provide this feedback either in the Slack channel or on the Twitter. Just say, hey, Jaromir, this is awesome. Please, can you do this and that? And I'll try to find some time when the kids are sleeping. Actually, the kids are sleeping here behind me. So I can record quietly, in quiet environment, the session for you. So I hope you are enjoying it. And yeah, it's still downloading. Check how fast it is. Oh, it's all downloaded now. That's good. Now it's installing the HDCLI, and in one moment it will exit the PowerShell. So it's in this part. So the next step will be to log in, then create a configuration, and then we will just validate it. Yesterday, when I was trying it, it failed, but in the beginning of the week it was success. So let's see how it will be today or tonight, if it will succeed or not. Yep, so AZCLI will be soon installed, and then it will just exit, and we will log in and create this configuration. Yep. So the configuration will be then visible here. You could click here, add configuration, all the instances and everything, but we really want to do configuration with the PowerShell. So PowerShell exited, so let's run it again. Let's log in and with this account. And let's try to create configuration. I guess it will again fail, but I just wanted to show you. Okay, it failed, unfortunately. Then you would be able to validate the config. If you find out why it's failing, please let me know. I would love to fix it, but maybe it's something we cannot fix, something that developers have to fix on their side. So if this would work, you would be able to see a configuration here. And to prove that it was working, I can go to WSLab, the scenario with Kubernetes, and just show you it in the README, where there's a screenshot how it should look like when the configuration is in place. So this exact PowerShell script was already working but now I'm sorry, for some reason it's not. I hope you enjoyed this session, and please let me know how you liked it in the Slack channel or on the Twitter, and have a great rest of the day.